Hey, what's up, Chris? Quick demo video for you for your creepy uncle. So I'm gonna do this video just because I like to put these all on YouTube. But thanks for video chatting with me before this, so that we could go over this and there weren't any questions, or I could answer anything that you had. But I made this with a removable battery system. I installed it with a Proffie V2. It's got CCSabers LED pixels in here. I've got your blade plug in just to show you that everything sits flush. It actually goes down a little bit past that if you wanted to. But you can see your CCSabers LEDs in there. And then I made that pixel holder go into the little recessed area. So you've got as much blade depth in there as you could possibly get. And then I'm gonna show you how this lights up here in a second. And then we'll take that out, we'll put a blade in. But this is basically comes off in three parts, right? So the first part's going to be your grenade section. You take that off and that's where your battery goes. So your spring side here is going to be your negative, always. And these pins here, just regular pins on this guy, they line up to this blade PCB that I've got in there. And then that lights up your pins up here. And then your second part is your speaker pod. I'm just going to be laughing at speaker pods for a while. But anyway, you got a 28 millimeter speaker in here. It's in its own casing. I made this a tight press fit down into this cap area so that speaker doesn't come out of this at all. And it's just meant to be that way. It's easy to keep track of. That way you don't have 4 parts instead of 3. And I liked doing this. And then you've got your pogo pins in there for your speaker. And then, like I showed you on the video, on our video chat, you can take your SD card out with a pair of tweezers. It's real easy to do. And then you can also hook up your micro USB cable into there. And that's how I programmed your board. So I always, on setups like this, I will not program the board ahead of time. I'll wait until I install everything and then I'll program it while it's installed. That way I know what I'm telling you is possible. And then, one more thing while I'm on this, because this is very similar to something I did recently. I've made this setup in the past where, the speaker and the pins and everything works when this Saber is fully engaged. That means when this grenade section is in, tightened down, and the speaker pod is in, tightened down, and everything is joined and tightened in as a unit, and then everything works properly. Due to recent things, I've changed that up a little bit. So that way you don't have any questions on your Saber. Then that's also why I'm doing the video chats going forward. So just to make sure that everyone's on the same page. You don't have to worry about that. We're gonna throw a battery in this guy. You'll see that the speaker works. As a matter of fact, we can put it in right now. It works without putting the grenade section down because that's what this particular Saber was made to do. So when we put the battery in, you're going to see your LEDs light up. So I gave you a sequence of just a few blinks on the red, a few blinks on the green while it's off, and then it just keeps doing that back and forth while it's off. Until you turn it on with your activation right here, the green light comes on. Auxiliary is in the back. And then you can just tap the activation to turn that off if you want. So we're gonna put this on. I'm gonna try not to have the Saber go off because I did give you motion controls as well. This is a very snug fit, but it's meant to be that way so that everything is tight, and those pins that I showed you on your battery, right in front of your battery cradle, are lining up with that blade side PCB that I've got in there for them to join up. You can actually feel it getting tight on the last half a turn or so. It's a very, the words I'm looking for is, there's a fine line, right, between having everything line up and then having it too long. You don't want to put too much stress on your pogo pins here in the back for your speakers. And you don't want to put too much pressure on these pins up here in the grenade section to light up your blade and your PCBs over here. So I use about half the length that those pins will spring back and forth. I usually like to use about half that. That way I'm not completely stressing the pins out. That's just my way. I don't know what other people do. In this hobby, I have found, a lot of the things that I do, I learned on my own, and some other things I learned from maybe watching other people do their things or see in pictures, and then I would just adapt to my own style. But I taught myself a lot on the way that I set up chassis and this and that. So that's my way. I use about half of the play in those springs to get everything to work, so that these springs don't stress out, lose their springiness, okay, and everything works right. So if you don't want to use your activation, you can just swing it on, and then you see your blade plug lighting up. So that's going to light up nice for you. And then we can twist off, just like that. Now we'll throw a blade in it. So I'm going to take this blade plug out like this. This does take a 1-inch diameter blade. So we're going to put that on. I'm going to go ahead and use your blade retention. Give me just a second. Hopefully I grabbed the right Allen key. I think I did. There we go. So, activation, auxiliary. You do have battle mode on this guy. You need to engage it, and I will, let me turn this off. I can send you the list of commands for your buttons, so that way you know how to do everything. Unless you don't need that, just let me know. I'm happy to send you a copy of that. So, we're just tapping for blaster deflex. We turn it off. If we take our power button and just hold it down for a second and then let go, that initiates your audio track. And of course, you can turn the blade on while that's playing. Not going to be able to hear it very well over the hum of the blade. But to turn that off, we just do the same thing. We hold down the power for a second and then we let it go. And then that turns off. When the blade is off, you just hit the auxiliary to go to your next sound font. Now we've got the stock blade profiles on here now. The only difference is I did a little playing around with all the blade styles. So you got stock fonts, and then I gave you some blade styles off of Fett's library. You'll also find a copy of the config file that I used for this guy on your SD card. So it should be pretty easy for you to go in there and add sound fonts or change whatever you like, but you'll have, it's the same coding for your red and green LEDs up here for every blade font, or for every sound font. I suppose I could be doing it over here so you can see your LEDs too. Or we can do that again.
Smooth Jedi. CNC.
Turn that off, and I'll take your blade out. So I think there's five stock fonts on here, if I remember correctly. I'll take this blade out. Pops right out. This has some nice blade depth when you use the recessed area for your NeoPixel PCB, so you shouldn't have any problems. I've got a 36-inch blade that I just tested with. If you don't have a blade and you're wanting to get one, I think a 34 is actually better for this guy, but I mean a 36 would work fine too. So to get everything out, we'll just do the same thing. We're going to want to untwist this grenade section. It pops right out, and then you can come over here with your finger on the positive side of the battery and very easily pop this guy right out. And then we'll just put this back in for safekeeping. That's pretty much your Saber. So let me know if you got any questions or if I missed anything, and then I will send this out to you through UPS like you wanted. Thanks, bud.